Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm Mackenzie Masterson, and I'm the Assistant Director in the Lifelong Learning Society office. Before we get started, I just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping to make sure we can pull this virtual event off without a hitch. First, let me say that virtual events are not without their technological challenges. So thank you for your patience, perseverance, and for many of you, your willingness to try something new. Not only does everyone on here have a different level of experience using virtual platforms, but everyone on here likely has a different internet speed they are working on, and that's okay. We're all in this together. Occasionally, there may be a lag in the video feed, or it may freeze up for a moment. Please don't panic if this happens. It will likely catch up in 30 to 60 seconds. If it doesn't, you'll simply leave the session by clicking the red Leave button in the bottom right corner of your screen and re-enter the session by clicking the link in your email. If your issue doesn't resolve and you need any assistance, there are a few options for you. You can use the chat feature at the bottom of the page to ask your question, or alternatively, you can call 757-594-8061 if you'd like phone support. Again, that number is 594-8061. We're going to try and keep today's session to an hour and a half. There's quite a bit of information to cover, and I know there will be questions that come from this. Please write these questions down and give us a call in the office or email after the close of the event. Or if you're willing to give it a try, you can use the chat feature by clicking the chat icon at the bottom of your screen. After clicking this button, a bar will appear where you can type your message and hit enter to send. We will address as many questions as we can at the end of the session, and any remaining session questions may be called into the Lifelong Learning Society office after the session. So, wonderful Lifelong Learning members and guests, without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker, Lifelong Learning Society Steering Committee President, Evelyn Knox.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our open house for the Lifelong Learning Society of Christopher Newport University. We want to thank you so much for taking your time out of the day to be here with us and to join us as we start our 31st year. My name is Evelyn Knox, and I am the president of Lifelong Learning. I'd like to share a little information with you about who we are. We're people of retirement age that are seeking the opportunity to continue to learn because we think that's important, to never stop learning. We're encouraged to be in an environment in which we can share and have fellowship with us. This year, we had 745 members. Lifelong Learning Society is a program of Christopher Newport University's Office of Advancement, and it's also an affiliate of the Elder Hostel Institute. We have our own campus at the Yoder Barn. We have our own staff. Jane Salzberger is a director, and we have 3 others. We have our own Facebook page. We have our own website. We're governed by a steering committee that's comprised of our own members, and we have several sponsors, including Warwick Forest, Virginia Health Services, Old Point National Bank, and Old Point Trust. To give you an idea of what we actually do, we offer a variety of classes, and we're going to get some more information on that in just a few minutes. But they include things like history, art, language, exercise, literature, and computer. The classes consist of a 10-week fall semester, a 10-week spring semester, and also a 3-week summer session. Most of the classes do not require any kind of homework, but some do occasionally require additional reading. We offer a series of Monday afternoon lectures and also sometimes musical performances. We hold several luncheons every year. We have a number of interest groups such as Scrabble, Book Club, and Mahjong. We sponsor field trips to nearby places. We have longer trips also that travel to within the United States and some that travel internationally. We sponsor 2 conferences a year. Both of these are generally held in the spring. We have a garden symposium and we have a writers conference. We actively support the Theater Guild and also the Friends of Music to offer additional support to the students on the CNU campus. We volunteer at a number of various events that we sponsor ourselves. We try to assist in helping prep the brochures that we mail out to our members and to the general public. We assist in directing traffic if we have very large classes. We drive a golf cart if we have events on the campus. We provide refreshments for our open house, and we also assist at our conferences. Where do we do most of these things? Most of our classes are held on our campus at the Yoder Barn, but some of them are held on the CNU campus and in either the theater halls or in other spaces. Our luncheons are usually held in on the campus of CNU, as well as our conferences both take places there. Our interest groups do meet within the Yoder Barn. When do we hold these different events? Our fall session starts in September, so that's not far away for us. And it runs 5 weeks. Then we have a 1-week break, and then we have another 5 weeks. Then our second semester starts late in January, and it runs the same schedule as the first semester. We also have a 3-week session that usually occurs in June during the summer. Every July, we start anew with our membership. We had 745 members last year, but we need to start over again now. Our membership fee is $235. This fee has remained the same for a number of years now, and we're happy that during this COVID experience that we're having, that we can retain that fee at that level. This fee covers as many classes as you want to take and covers both semesters and the summer session. We really think it's the best entertainment dollar that you will have. Just a little bit about our current situation, and we'll have some more information on that to follow. Due to COVID-19, we've had to put some changes into our schedule. For fall, our smaller classes we hope to hold on the campus of the Yoder Barn, but most of the larger classes will be online. So we have and we will continue to offer free and friendly training for online learning. We have established cleaning procedures and they've been worked out, and you'll learn more about those. Our trips for right now are on hold, other than the one trip cruising the Adriatic, which is still scheduled for the fall of 2021. We have and we know we will continue to face challenges, but our largest goal is to keep this program viable. And in doing so, we strive to keep our members informed and to keep them engaged. Little did we know in March of this year how much this organization would really mean to us. But I can't think of a better time to become a member of Lifelong Learning. And I hope that you will join us and that you will bring a friend. You can access the class schedule either on our website, or you can call the office and they can mail you a brochure. Your registration can either be done through the mail, or it can be filled out and you can drop in the mail slot in our office. One more thing I want to mention is our opening session is going to take place on September the 7th. Dr. Quentin Kidd from Christopher Newport University will be our speaker, and he will talk on Virginia and the 2020 election. This is an event you won't want to miss, so please stay tuned. Next, I would like to introduce to you the chair of our program committee, Dr. Theodora Bostic. She is also history professor emeritus at CNU. She and her staff have worked diligently to put together a list of programs for us to be able to enjoy. She's now going to provide you with a teaser of what's in store for you for fall.
Thank you, Evelyn. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be with you today, even if it's only virtually, to talk a little bit about our fall course offerings on behalf of the program committee. The unofficial motto of the program committee is something for everyone. We aim to provide a well-rounded program with a variety of courses that will both appeal to your interests and also tempt you out of your comfort zone. And I think we've done it for the fall. So to our current members and to our potential new ones, when you look at your brochure, you might be kind of overwhelmed by the many choices. So today I'd like to suggest a few ideas that might help you decide. Are you experiencing cabin fever? We can offer you some sheer escapism to distract and amuse you. We start with Kings and Queens of Comedy with Professor George Hillel. Then follow the history of American popular music with Mark Morgan, from Delta blues to rock and roll. And wouldn't you like to know what goes on backstage at the theater? What creates the magic that we enjoy on the front stage? Professor Tanya Sweet will allow us to meet the hidden stars behind the scenes. You could also escape into the world of science fiction with Dr. Jason Carney. But perhaps you'd really rather escape to another time and another place. So try living the life of ancient Romans with Dr. Alice Rubenstein, or just tour ancient Roman art with Dr. Rose Mata. By the way, we are very happy to welcome several professors who are new to lifelong learning this semester. And two of them are going to try to conjure up the past through literature. Christy Lum will explore the great Midwest of the early 20th century through the books of Willa Cather and Sinclair Lewis. And award-winning author Bradley Harper will take us to the dark London streets of Jack the Ripper through his Edgar-nominated novel, A Knife in the Fog. But truthfully, many of us are a bit concerned about keeping safe and well. Happily, the Riverside doctors will be back with an array of health topics exactly suited to us and to our needs. And Cyber Generations will address cybersecurity issues especially pertinent to senior citizens. Well, when you've started to feel reassured about your health and safety, and all your closets have been cleaned out, and you're a little bored and want a new challenge, how about studying a foreign language? This fall, we will offer Spanish, French, and Latin. Or this may be the time to learn more about your computer or unravel the mysteries of your cell phone. And we can help with that with several courses. Or take a virtual trip to the Mariners Museum and learn about art conservation and museums. But here comes a personal confession. Suppose your closets are not cleaned out and you don't want to think about it, but you would like to feel that you're doing something useful and productive. Well, maybe you've been meaning to jot down some of your own memories, write your memoirs. And you know, we have lived through a lot of history, including this period of the pandemic, so there's a lot to write about. Or perhaps you've promised yourself and your family to start working on that family history. We have courses to help you get started with both those projects. But speaking of interesting times, even if we're not able to get out very much in today's world, we really want to understand what's going on out there. So another of our new professors, Dr. Joyce Armstrong, will offer a very timely course which she calls Fake News, Fact or Fiction. Also appropriate are a course on China under Chairman Xi, can't get more current than that, offered by Dr. Dorothy James, I'm sorry. And Dr. Corliss Takosa will offer a course called Global Actors. If it's the world of nature that calls to you, the Virginia Living Museum will teach us about Virginia animals, past and present. And Dr. Gerald Johnson will get down to the nitty-gritty of the earth from its beginnings. But when the world becomes too much, it's probably time to relieve some stress. So we offer you many levels of exercise classes, plus meditation, Tai Chi, and the largest assortment of yoga classes that we have ever had. Finally, there's nothing like creativity to lessen stress. Express your feelings by writing poetry or playing the ukulele. Try one of our courses on painting or drawing, but sign up early because they tend to be very popular. Well, I hope I have tempted you to take a closer look at our fall program because I've only scratched the surface of our offerings. I wanted to leave quite a few pleasant surprises for you to discover when you look at the brochure. But I do look forward to sharing this new adventure of virtual learning with you in the fall. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce you to Adelia Thompson. She is Vice President of University Advancement. This is an office that works closely with our organization, and she has, over time, has offered guidance and support to our organization. But she and her staff have just done so much in the last few months, and their work has just been invaluable to us in getting us where we need to be and keeping on track during this time. So, Adelia Thompson.
Thank you, Evelyn. Whole new skill set of having to develop taking on and off of masks. We all do, don't we? I am Adelia Thompson, and I have to tell you, when I joined the Christopher Newport team about just under 10 years ago, one of the great joys was finding out that lifelong learning was going to be a part of the world that I got to work with on a daily basis. It has remained a blessing and remains one of the great joys of my life. I'm looking at Jane, who's sitting right over there every day. I bring you greetings from President Paul Tribble and Rosemary Tribble and from everybody at Christopher Newport University. It's an extraordinary time to be part of a campus, this campus and the Christopher Newport campus, especially campuses where being present with one another is at the very heart of who we are. But we're finding new ways to do that at Christopher Newport and through lifelong learning, as you just heard, and we'll tell you more. And lifelong learning has absolutely been a trailblazing program for us on that front. We've never been more proud that lifelong learning is a part of us and such a force for good in this community. It's really a lifeline for its several hundred members who are important members of the family at Lifelong Learning and at Christopher Newport. So keeping lifelong learning flying high during these crazy days is a real priority for the university, and I want to talk about a few ways that that's true. First of all, in technology, our IT department and our events team are absolutely committed to providing the support that is necessary to make sure that the online classes that are being promised are delivered in the best possible fashion. Also in training, Mackenzie Masterson, who's sitting right here in front of me, I want to say a personal thank you to. She's already trained more than 275 members of lifelong learning in how to make your computers work the way you need them to, or your iPads or your phones or whatever your tool of choice is going to be as you engage in what's going to happen here at Lifelong Learning. She's a marvelous teacher. She's patient. She's good-humored. Good humor will get us all through this in ways that nothing else will, I think. But she's available to you, and she has another 100 already signed up to train some more in the weeks ahead. She will take care of you. We will take care of you. And communication. One of the things that we've done and tried to do with our lifelong learning members ever since we all went home to work in the middle of March, is to stay in touch with you about messages from the university, about what's going on in the community and about what's happening at CNU. So the staff at Lifelong Learning has been good to push out messages even as they're coming out from the university to keep you apprised of what's going on the larger picture and not just with Lifelong Learning. And then I have to thank the staff. Jane Salzberger, your fearless and seemingly tireless director, Mackenzie Masterson, the assistant director, from whom you've heard and you will hear again in a moment, Helen Wright, and Louise Bass. They are amazing women, one and all, and are delightful colleagues for us, and I think you will find they are wonderful friends who will take care of you. And so finally, I want to talk about health and safety, certainly on the forefront of all of our minds. We are going to bring you back for classes, and we are going to keep you safe, and we're going to keep you healthy. We will do everything we can to make sure that the environment that you come back to is cleaned properly and often, and that there will be stations for sanitization that are available at important spots, not only here in the barn, but at the Lifelong Learning offices. Now, the offices' doors will remain closed. That's important because we have to control the coming and going of folks from the outside into the inside of the offices. However, you can be seen by appointment, your phone calls will always be taken, your emails can fly high, and you will be cared for well by the team that is there. But I want you to know that in the barn, as well as at the offices, every protection and all the proper protocols as dictated by CDC and VDH and Christopher Newport University will be employed to make sure that we take care of all the members of our Christopher Newport family. And I hear tell that masks are in the works for our Lifelong Learning members, and so stay tuned on that front. I'll close by saying that you are treasured. We will deliver on our promises to you. My favorite quote from this whole period of our lives together has been, "Science will get us out of this. Art will get us through it." I'm going to change that a little bit for today. Science will get us out of this. Friendships will get us through it. You are dear and precious friends of Christopher Newport University, and we treasure lifelong learning. Come join the fun. Evelyn, I'm going to clean this space. I'm going to pack up my notebook, grab my mask, put it back on. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Adelia. Wow, what a whole lot of information to take in. Now we're going to have some entertainment. You're in for a real treat. Dr. Ed Brash is a professor of physics at Christopher Newport University. He's also a staff scientist at the Thomas Jefferson National Accelerator Facility, better known as the Jefferson Lab. He's an honorary senior research fellow at the University of Glasgow. And he has a musical ensemble called Glasgow Kiss, in which he plays traditional Celtic music. We want to welcome Dr. Ed Brash, one of our favorite people.
Hey everyone. So I'm Edward Brash. Thank you for that very nice introduction. And I just wanted to echo all of the sentiments that have been expressed about how this is really, I mean, from my point of view, just absolutely the perfect time, right, to get more involved in lifelong learning. It's something that I talk to all of my young students about, and all of my 20-year-old students in all of my classes, about how you know, learning is something that really does literally go on your entire life. Since this whole coronavirus thing happened, you know, like a lot of other people, I've had so much time on my hands, and I taught myself a new computing language in the last 4 months. And, you know, I mean, that's just the way that we are. And I've met so many of you over the years, and I know that that's the way that you are as well. So definitely come back this year and maybe take more courses than you did in the past, because maybe you've got a little bit more time. And for those of you who might be potential new members, I just can't speak highly enough about the way this organization is run and the myriad opportunities that are available to all of the members. It's just really a fantastic group of people. So thank you again for that very nice introduction. And as you heard, I'm a physicist, and so that allows me to talk with expertise about any topic in the whole world, right? And I have to say I'm a little bit intimidated of having a professor of history sitting back here in the audience today, because I'm going to talk about some history which I'm personally interested in, and I'm going to attempt to bring up some slides because I can't talk without slides. So one of the things that I've become very, very interested in probably the last decade or couple of decades is trying to understand how America came to be what it was. I'm a Canadian, so I came to this country as an immigrant. So I've been really interested in trying to understand the immigrant experience. My personal heritage is Scottish and Irish, and so that kind of led me to try to understand how America came to be what it is from an immigration point of view. And one could say, you know, we're studying things that are hundreds of years old here, but I just can't think again of anything that's more topical in 2020, right, than immigration. So, you know, it's not just old static history that we're studying. We're studying what's going on today at the same time. And as was mentioned, I'm interested in music as well. And so I thought maybe there was a way that we could bring my interest in music and my personal interest in history and maybe just a tiny bit of science, because I can't leave science out of it all the way. Is there a way that I could bring that together? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And some of you may have heard me give very similar presentations to this in the past. I've given entire courses at Lifelong Learning Society in this topic and other topics as well. So it's amazing to me that in the modern era, when you talk about Celtic peoples or Celtic peoples in general, people tend to think probably naturally of, okay, Irish people, maybe Scottish people, a very localized group of people. But in fact, the Celtic peoples existed as a major cultural and societal force over most of what is modern day Europe. Around 2,400 or 2,500 years ago. I mean, this entire central area of Europe was ruled by Celtic peoples. And many of the normal things that we kind of associate today with Celtic peoples, the clan structure, just to pick out one example, kind of comes from this history, which is from a time which was a long time ago. And then these Celtic peoples were dispersed into more remote areas down into the Iberian Peninsula. And of course, it was the Romans that kind of drove that entire process. And then they migrated over into the Britannic Islands as well and ended up becoming what we normally think of as Celtic peoples today. So if we focus in a little bit more on just Ireland and think about what did Ireland look like over the last few thousand years, there was a really important paradigm shift in the way that Ireland existed from about 1000 AD or so, when if we look at Ireland, we had very much like what most people think of as the traditional clan structure, the thing that people normally associated with Scottish culture, existed very much over the entire island of Ireland, with kingdoms and strong clan structures existing over the entire island. And just 300 years ago, that had been completely changed, where in fact, most of the traditional Celtic peoples were living in quite remote areas of Ireland in the north and in the west, and in some small remote areas in the central part of the island. And what happened there was, of course, the Norman invasion. And these people were displaced out into the very rural areas of the island. But fortunately for them, fortunately for those people, something very interesting happened. And that was the Black Death, the bubonic plague. Now, how could a plague be helpful to peoples? Well, in fact, actually, the plague, which arrived in Ireland in about 1348, it turns out actually that it was much harder on the English / Norman population, who lived predominantly close together in cities and towns, than it was on the native Irish, who lived on very separated, isolated farms in the rural parts of Ireland. In other words, the Irish practiced good social distancing. Yeah, that's what they did. And they came through the plague with actually not much happening to them. Yeah. This had a tremendous effect on the culture. There was really a resurgence of the Gaelic culture in Ireland. Yeah. It turns out that the English territory in Ireland shrunk to just a small fortified area around the modern day city of Dublin, known as the Pale, from where we get the expression beyond the pale, in fact. By the end of the 15th century, the English had essentially left Ireland from a governmental point of view, and they were more preoccupied with other things, as happens in English history if you study that at all. The War of the Roses was going on at the time. And control of Ireland was actually left in the hands of the Lord of Ireland, yeah, an absentee landlord, if you will. Yeah. So just thinking about the plague, again, this was an interesting image that I found in the last few days. This is a plague doctor. Yeah, they were very, very popular during that time period all over Europe, not just in Ireland. And he's got this lovely plague doctor mask on here. Yeah, which actually what they would do is they would put aromatics in the front of the mask, in the beak of this mask, which would mostly just cover up the horrid smell for the person that was wearing it. It's not sure how much actual good it did, but that's what they did. So mask wearing actually in the time of this pandemic was a very popular thing to do. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, you can actually go onto Amazon today and you could buy one of these for yourselves. And if you notice here right at the top, actually, by this Amazon logo here, it says coronavirus protection right beside it there. So apparently, okay, the people of the 1300s in Ireland and all over Europe knew exactly what they were doing. I just thought that was neat. As usual with the English, they decided to colonize. Yeah, that's what the English do, and they did it very, very well. They sent English Protestants into the areas of Laois and Offaly. Those were those two green blobs in that previous map that I showed before. They sent Scottish Presbyterians into Ulster in the north of Ireland, and the idea was again there to get people of Protestant faith into these very traditional Catholic areas. And these people would form the ruling class in Ireland in the future. They instituted over time these things known as the penal laws, which discriminated against any faith, actually any faith other than the Church of Ireland. And if you look just even a tiny amount at American history, this idea of freedom of religion, right, becomes a very, very interesting idea. And I've always thought that that was an interesting aspect of the emigration of the Irish out of Ireland. The land in Ireland was owned by the English, the so-called absentee landlords, or in some cases, rich Irish Protestants. It was a system of sharecropping where grain was grown as a cash crop and shipped back to England. On these less fertile grounds where the Irish people actually lived, they grew potatoes. They grow potatoes as their sole food crop. Potatoes are an amazing thing. They produce an incredible amount of food per acre of land. They will grow in almost any small amount of soil. They grow in terrible areas where grain will not grow. And they also grow well in cool, wet weather. And if you've ever been to Ireland, especially on the west coast of Ireland, that is what you get. So it was an amazing crop for them to grow. The only problem was it was the only crop that they would grow, and they became wholly dependent upon this single crop. And so in 1845, and before that, by the way, as well, but the major one was in 1845, a blight from America, by the way, struck the potato crop. And while there were over 8 million people in Ireland at that time, most of them were living in very, very, very dire economic straits even then. And so this blight on their single sole food source was just an absolutely tragic situation. And more than that, this famine, this blight went on for years and years and years. In 1846, it was worse. The British government took a very laissez-faire attitude with this and didn't help people. By the way, the exports of that Irish grain continued unabated back to England when it could have been used to feed people in Ireland. In 1847, the famine was completely raging out of control. 1847 among Irish people is thought of as being the worst year of the famine. There's one of my favorite Irish bands is called Black 47. It's kind of the year that people associate with this. The major solution at the end of the day was actually to get rid of the people. They would just ship the people out of Ireland. This is an actual quote from an actual letter from a landowner. There is no hope for you as long as you remain in Ireland. The only means of improving your situation is to leave the country. All of those who are in arrears for rent will be forgiven what is due. Passage to Canada will be paid, and you will be given a title to free land from our agents in Canada. So that was the deal that was offered to them. That was the deal that was offered to them. This is Canada. I threw that in there because I'm from Canada, but similar sort of situations existed in the United States. As I said, the population was about 8 million people in Ireland at the time of the famine, and over the next, say, 70 or 80 years or so, the population decreased by about a factor of 2, while the population in the rest of Europe was continuing at the normal exponential growth. So the entire character of the island completely changed. Now, indeed, some 1 million people, about an eighth of the population, died during the potato famine, but another 1 million emigrated out of the country during that 5 or 6 year period. And then another several million emigrated out of Ireland over the next 20 or 30 or 40, 50 years by essentially a system of chain migration. People came to the United States and to Canada, and it was significantly better for them than it was where they were. And they wrote to their families and said, this is amazing, you guys should come here. Now, a lot of times, they may have embellished just slightly about how good it was here, but in any case, this is the start of the story of immigration, in essence. So Irish folk music, for those of you who might not be so familiar with, takes on many, many, many different forms. And when people think of traditional Irish music, I think one of the first things that they think of is the Sean Nose style. That's Irish for in the old style or in the traditional style. It's usually unaccompanied, sung solo, either by a male or a female voice. It tends to be a highly ornamented way of singing. And if it's a male singing, it's almost always a tenor that sings, done very at the top of the vocal range. Another term is keening, or crying or weeping in Irish. These were laments that stressed sorrow and pain and so on and so forth. In fact, actually, there are a lot of amazing Irish laments that are associated with the idea of emigration. Because to the people in Ireland, when somebody left the country to come to America, it was like they had died. Now, they were never, ever, ever coming back. Now, the idea of coming back at that time was just, it was unfathomable that they could. And they, in fact, they would have a party the night before and call it an American wake for the person that was leaving. Historically, these keenings are associated with funerals, but as I said, this idea of emigrating to America was very much, for the people that were left behind at least, very much like a funeral. So I thought I'd start off today and do one of my favorite songs in this vein. So this song is called The Green Fields of America, and it's a lovely song that I first heard on a Chieftains album many, many years ago, and it talks of it tells the story of a young man who's left Ireland. I can't read that. I don't have.
Somebody wants to know what's the oldest Celtic song that you know.
The oldest Celtic song that I know. Oh. This one might be one of the older ones, actually. Yeah, this might be one of the older ones. This song dates from the 1860s or 1870s or so. Yeah, good question. Farewell to the groves of Shillelagh and Shamrock. Farewell to the girls of old Ireland all round. And may their hearts be as merry as e'er they could wish for it's far away o'er the ocean I'm bound. My father is old, and my mother's quite feeble. To leave their own country would grieve their hearts sore. Oh, the tears down their cheeks, in great floods they are rolling. To think that I must die upon some foreign shore. But what matter to me where my bones they lie buried, if in peace and contentment I can spend my life. Oh, the green fields of Mary Kay, they daily are calling. It's there I'll find an end to my miseries and strife. So pack up your sea stores, consider it no longer. $10 a week isn't very bad pay, with no taxes or tithe there to devour up your wages. Across on the green fields of Mary Kay. And now to conclude and to finish my ditty, if e'er a friendless Irishman should happen my way, with the best in the house, I will treat him and welcome him at home on the green fields of Mary Kay. You can applaud, you can make noise. There are people here. Shout, boo, come on. Jeez. That was the song, there. I'm running out of time. We don't have time for that song. Okay, the Irish, what happened to the Irish after they came to America? This is another really interesting part of the story. Well, of course, they brought their musical traditions with them, right? That's what all immigrants to America do. They bring their culture with them, and that's an amazing part of the immigrant experience. And they wrote thousands upon thousands upon thousands of songs. They wrote songs, first of all, about the terrible experience of coming here and the home that they had to leave behind. And then they wrote songs about their experience here. And of course, the Civil War, the American Civil War, was a tremendously popular topic for them to write about, because the Irish joined principally the northern side in the Civil War in droves, sometimes literally being enlisted into the Union Army as they walked down off of the boat in New York. They became involved in politics and law enforcement. The idea of the Irish cop is a real idea, in building of the railways, and there's tons of songs about that. And it turns out that many, many songs survive from that era. So one interesting idea, and I have talked about this before, and you know, in 2020, the thing that has happened in the last few months with the Black Lives Matter movement and our continued recognition of the importance of the contribution of Black folks to the American experience. This is perhaps you know, a sensitive thing to talk about, but I think it's important. Yeah. I want to talk for a second about minstrel shows. Yeah? Minstrel shows evolved from several different entertainment traditions that existed during that time, but a really important component was Irish dance and song. Yeah? The Irish brought that tradition from their culture. Yeah? While he was not the originator of the form, yeah, in 1842, a gentleman named Daniel Decatur Emmett, who was an Irish immigrant, devised a program of singing and dancing in blackface. Yeah? That is obviously a tremendously bad and racist thing, and I'm not in any way trying to defend this idea, but just noting that it did happen. There's an incredible amount of racism that existed in the United States at that time. It existed against Black Americans. It existed against Irish immigrants as well. You can go and find all manner of newspaper articles from this time period, yeah, where there are tremendously horrible, awful, racist images of not only Black Americans, but Irish immigrants as well. Stephen Foster, the great composer, wrote minstrel songs, yeah, and then he eventually blended a lot of those minstrel songs together with more what were considered civilized parlor songs to form actually some of his best known work. Daniel Emmett, who I mentioned before, is sort of generally accepted today as the writer of Dixie, yeah, another song that has tremendous racial implications in our modern society. I'll point out that the banjo, which features in Irish music in just an inseparable way in the modern era, is in fact an African instrument that the Irish brought into their music from African culture. And the song I want to do next is a song called The Boatman's Dance. And it appears in set one of Aaron Copland's Old American Songs, which is just an absolutely important volume of songs that many, many singers, including my daughter, when she studied vocal music, learned a lot of the songs from that volume. And I thought I would do that song now. I row the boatman's robe, looking down the river on the Ohio. I row the boatman's robe, looking down the river on the Ohio. Boatman dance, boatman sing, the boatman can do anything. When the boatman gets on the shore, it's his cash and he works no more. Dance, the boatman dance, dance, the boatman dance. Dance all night till the broad daylight, and go home with the girls in the morning. I row the boatman row, looking down the river on the Ohio. I row the boatman row, looking down the river on the Ohio. I went on board the other day, see what the boatman had to say. There I let my passion loose, and it put me in the calaboose. So dance the boatman dance, dance the boatman dance. Dance all night till the broad daylight, and go home with the girls in the morning. I row the boatman row, looking down the river on the Ohio. I row the boatman row, looking down the river on the Ohio. Boatman is a thrifty man, there's none can do as the boatman can. Never seen a pretty little girl in my life, but she was a boatman's wife. Dance the boatman dance, dance the boatman dance. Dance all night in the broad daylight, then go home with the girls in the morning. I row the boatman row, looking down the river on the Ohio. I row the boatman row, looking down the river on the Ohio. I row So since somebody asked, that song might be older than the previous song that I did, by a few years at least anyway. Yeah, that's an old song. Written by an Irishman, but you're starting to hear actually, doesn't really sound exactly like a traditional Irish song, yeah? Again, the Irish are starting to incorporate aspects of the general American musical experience into the music that they're writing. As I mentioned before, lots of songs from that era about the Civil War, yeah? Specifically the Irish Brigade, yeah? That was one of the most important Irish components in the Civil War, in the Union Army, and a lot of songs from that era. The Fightin' 69th, yeah, one of the specific regiments from New York City, had a huge Irish component in it. It's actually where the nickname, the Fightin' Irish of Notre Dame, where they take their nickname from. Yeah, it's actually from the Fightin' 69th. Notre Dame was founded by two Catholic priests, both of which had served as chaplains to the 69th Brigade. Lots of stuff in here that I don't have time to talk about. But what I wanted to get to was this particular song. So this is a really great classic example of music from this era. This one sounds much more like a traditional Irish song, I would say. And it tells the story of a young man named Pat Murphy, the most Irish name that I could possibly think of, perhaps. And it tells his story. And Pat Murphy was a soldier, but he was also a musician and a singer, and he would entertain his comrades in the evenings after battle. Night before battle, all through the camp, the soldiers lay close in their quarters. They were thinking, no doubt, of their loved ones at home, mothers, wives, sweethearts, and daughters. Far away in the east sat a dashing young blade, and a song he was singing so gaily. It was honest Pat Murphy of the Irish Brigade, and he sang of the sprig of Shillelagh. Well now, says Pat, what a pity to see brothers fighting in such a strange manner. I'll fight till I die, and I'll surely be killed for America's bright starry banner. Far away in the east sat a dashing young blade, and a song he was singing so gaily. It was honest Pat Murphy of the Irish Brigade, and he sang of the sprig of Shillelagh. Morning soon came, and Paddy arose on the rebels to have satisfaction. Drummer was beating the devil's tattoo, calling the boys into action. And the Irish Brigade in the battle was seen, their blood for the cause shedding freely. And with bayonet charges they marched on the foe, with a shout for the land of Shillelagh. Battle was over, the dead lay in heaps, Pat Murphy lay bleeding and gory. A hole in his head from a rifleman's shot had ended his passion for glory. No more in the camps the land of the free, the land of the sprig of shillelagh. Far away in the east side, a dashing young blade, and a song he was singing so gaily. It was honest Pat Murphy of the Irish Brigade, and he sang of the sprig of shillelagh. Thank you. Yes, they're all sad songs. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're all sad songs. If you come and see our band in the pub, you'll hear the happy songs, okay? That's what we do there. This is a sad song show. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go through this. I'm just gonna do 2 more songs and then finish up. And I want to again thank everyone for inviting me, Jane especially, for all of the heroic work that she does, and Mackenzie, you're amazing. You do all kinds of cool stuff. And thank you to the team from, I don't know, the people that set all of this up to make this whole thing work. Again, it was seamless. We came in and it all just worked. And I know you did a tremendous job behind the scenes making everything happen. This next song, again, is another incredibly sad song. I'm sorry. But it's my favorite song. It's my favorite Irish song in the whole world. And the story goes like this. In about 1970 or so, this guy who lived out in Indiana, I think, was going through his attic, and he found stuffed up in the rafters of this old farmhouse a whole bunch of letters that had come from what I think was his great-great-great-grandfather back in Ireland to that man's son who had emigrated to Ireland. It just tells this amazing story over a lifetime of what it was like to have one of your children move away, to effectively die, okay, by coming to America. And it's just absolutely one of my favorite songs. It's called Kilkelly, Ireland, which is the place where that family came from in Ireland. And it's just an amazing, amazing summary, if you will, of the whole story. Kilkelly, Ireland, 1860, my dear, loving son John, your good friend schoolmaster Pat McNamara's so good as to write these words down. Your brothers have all gone to find work in England. The house is so empty and sad. The crop of potatoes is sorely I suppose that he never will learn. Because of the darkness, there's no turf to speak of. Now we have nothing to burn. And Bridget is happy. You named a child for her, though she's got 6 of her own. You say you found work, but you don't say what kind, when you will be coming home. Kilkelly Ireland, 1880, my dear Michael and John. Sorry to give you the very sad news that your dear old mother has gone. We buried you down at the church in Kilkelly. Your brothers and Bridget were there. You don't have to worry, she died very quickly. Remember her in your prayers. And it's so good to hear that Michael's returning. Money he's short to buy land. The crop has been poor and the people are selling at any price that they can. Kilkelly Ireland, 1890, my dear loving son John. I suppose the time must be close on to 80. It's been 30 years since you've gone. Because of all of the money you sent me, I'm still living out on my own. Michael has built himself a fine house. Bridget's daughters are grown. Thank you for sending your family picture, lovely young women and men. Say that you might even come for a visit. What a joy to see you again. Kilkelly Ireland, 1892, my dear brother John. Sorry I didn't write sooner to tell you father passed on. He was living with Bridget. She says he was cheerful, healthy right down to the end. You should have seen him play with the grandchildren at McNamara, your friend. We buried him alongside of Mother down at the Kelly churchyard. Oh, he was a strong and a feisty young man, considering his life so hard. And it's funny the way he kept talking about you, called for you at the end. Why don't you think about coming to visit? We'd all love to see you again. Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in today. I'm going to do just one more song here, another one that really captures the idea of the American experience. This is a song called Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears, and it's a fairly modern song. and it tells the story of a young Irish woman named Annie Moore. Annie Moore was the very, very first person to come through the Ellis Island immigration station in 1892. She came through with herself and her two younger brothers. She was 15 years old at the time. She ended up spending her entire life in New York City. She had some 10 children, 5 of whom died before they were 3 years old, another common experience of people during that time. And she didn't really live what I would call particularly, you know, what one might call a notable life. But as the first person to come through Ellis Island, in some senses, she is very much symbolic of the Irish American experience. This was a lovely song that was written about her. If you go to Ellis Island today, actually, there's a statue of Annie Moore at Ellis Island, and there's another statue of her and her brothers in Cove in County Cork in Ireland, where she was from. On the first day of January, 1892, they opened Ellis Island and they let the people through. And the first to cross the threshold on that island of hope and tears was Annie Moore from Ireland, who was all of 15 years. Isle of hope, tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fear. But it's not the isle you leave behind. Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again. But the Isle of hope is always on your mind. In a little bag she carries all her past history and her dreams for the future in the land of liberty. And courage is your passport when your whole life disappears. There's no future in the past when you're 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears. But it's not the isle you leave behind. Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again. But the Isle of hope is always on your mind. When they closed down Ellis Island in 1943, 17 million people had come there for sanctuary. In the springtime when I came here and stepped onto its piers, I thought of how it must have been when you're 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fear. But it's not the isle you leave behind. Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again. But the Isle of hope is always on your mind. Yes, the Isle of hope is always on your mind. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you again for attending online. Thank you to all the folks who are here. was nice to have a small but appreciative audience. And I'll turn it back over to the people in charge.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brash. I'm sure we're all applauding from home. Always so wonderful to have you here at Lifelong Learning. Just a few closing words. If you'd like to request a brochure, there's a poll question that will come up now that you can answer. And if you'd like a brochure mailed to you, we will send one to you promptly today. Or you can visit our website, cnu.edu/lifelonglearning, and you can view it online. We don't seem to have any questions in our chat box, but I know you probably do have some. So please do give us a call in the office and we're happy to answer those questions for you. Our office number is 757-269-4368. Thank you all for attending our very first virtual open house, and we're looking forward to another exciting year with Lifelong Learning.